All right. Welcome, everybody, back to the Road Less Traveled podcast. I am so excited because we have another guest on today, Kimberly von Slomski. She is our sleep coach for Nora back in 2021, master sleep trainer, postpartum doula, newborn care specialist, and so many things to us, especially now that we have a second daughter here. She's hailed as the baby whisperer by actress Hilary Duff. You're kind of a big deal, Kimberly. Kind of a big deal.
Thank you.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So we met back in the middle of 2021 when nobody was sleeping at our house. And you so kindly flew to us in Arkansas and made our lives so much better because sleep is so important. And you helped Nora sleep, you helped us sleep, and then life was just so much better because of you. So thank you.
You're so welcome. It was such an amazing honor to be with you and to really teach you all some good sleep techniques and also to support you through it because it's a really hard thing to have such a big change, to try something new and to really trust your baby that she can do it also, which is not always easy to do.
Yes. And I will say, having you in the home was everything. I mean, I know there are so many great just like PDFs or different courses you can buy, but truly having you in the home gave me so much confidence. And I think just like emotional stability to move forward with this training in Nora, that it truly was everything. And so I'd love to hear kind of how you started. I know you've been in this business for so long, but for everybody who hasn't heard, just your background and how you got started.
Great. Yeah. So I began as a postpartum doula and newborn care specialist with my business, LA Doula Care, in 2013. So I've been doing this professionally, working with babies in my own business since then. But I've actually been working with babies since I was 11 years old and pretty much nonstop from there. So I was interested in very young ages, when I was young. 11 is very young to even be interested in, wanting to work with newborns and with toddlers. So I started then, and my dad had me take all the hospital classes and everything to make sure I was legit and knew my stuff. And, so wow, that was 1995. So from 1995 to now, I've been consistently working with babies and I love it. And so started with a postpartum doula care. And that was amazing, just really working in homes with new parents and guiding them and giving them tips and tricks to kind of help them decide how they feel is right to bring their baby into this world and to support them through the process. And then, doing that for so many years, I'm like, okay, I'm realizing that everyone's needing sleep help now. And I really felt like I was leaving families kind of to their own, not demise, but kind of like really to their own, I don't know, just having to figure it out solo without me, even though I felt like my job really was working myself out of the job is the goal. I want you to be feeling super confident by the time I leave your home. However, you're also at this point where your baby may not be sleeping through the night on their own by 12 to 16 weeks when I leave. And so like, okay, there has to be something that can get families through this next part. A lot of people were asking me, do you do sleep training? Do you do sleep training? Can we help keep you here for sleep training? And I'm like, I do sleep training, but I hadn't started my own business, solely sleep training at this point yet. So that's when I developed Sweet Dreams LA, and it's really taken off because families just need that help and need to feel like, they know what to do, what the next steps are to where they can confidently continue and to also learn more about their baby, what their needs are, what their sleepy cues are, how to schedule naps during the day so they're not super cranky and really to make sure they're getting the sleep they need for that developmental leap that comes right at that point when you're like, oh my gosh, they're going to be going through sleep regressions and all of these things. How do we make this work for us and for our baby so that we're all working together, so that we're all living optimally? Because it really is about the whole family feeling great and having that really good success so everyone can live their lives the way that they want to.
Yes. I mean, it is wild how sleep can derail an entire family. It,
Yeah, I will say on that, Kimberly, I am absolutely exhausted right now. I've caught whatever sickness Lily has. My
Oh,
eyes running. I'm so tired. Like we're up multiple times a night because we got the Lily now, our 6 month old as of today,
Mhm.
wow.
and Nora is now. You sleep trained Nora when she was what?
Exactly 6 months. So it's really wild that you came 2 days before Nora turned 6 months.
Yeah,
Today, Lily is 6 months.
yeah. So
And
2 years
Wow.
ago,
so it's all 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
It's all very timely. And I
Nice.
know it's time
Yeah.
to go down that route with Lily.
Yeah.
She's
And
sleeping so much better
mm,
than Nora was in
Oh,
terms of she's not colicky. She's up less time. I'd say she's up less than what Nora was. Nora was up more
on
frequently.
average, once a night.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm exhausted right now. And because Nora is now, she's in a big girl bed. We've made that transition out of the crib quite a few months ago, and she gets scared now. So we're now going through that. So I think we'll dive into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where we're at right now, and it's a short window of time, like 2-3 years with two kids, but we're in the
Hmm.
thick of it right now, and
Yes.
we're exhausted, and we've both had moments where we're like about to have a mental breakdown, and just like
Yeah.
from
I,
sleep deprivation from us, and it is hard on the parents.
yeah, it
I
is
think
so
for
tricky.
any struggling parent listening to this, I think you definitely dive into this episode because you'll come away with, I think, a lot of learnings. But it makes me think about how, our parents' generation or earlier generations did this because I don't think there were, maybe they didn't overcomplicate it. I don't know. But there is a method to the madness. And, your course and your teachings really do work. So I guess like I feel a little bit for my parents who probably were just like, they just did it. They just dealt with it the best they could, and didn't know how to put maybe any of this into place. So I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, and I think
Yay.
it's really hard to with online and social media. Everybody's an expert. There's so much information out there. You kind of get inundated with all of these things. Everybody's saying do this, do that way, and when we had you come, you were just like, this is my way, this is it. And it just gave us parents both peace of mind, knowing that like all these other things, we could kind of block all the online stuff out and focus on what you were showing us in the home, which was fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. I always say parents end up going down the Google rabbit hole when you're searching anything having to do with
Yeah.
your baby. And like you said, there's so much on social media, there's so much comparison. I find that parents now are having such a challenging time figuring out what to do with their babies because, they hear like, oh, this is the way, this is the best way. And there's even comparison down to like the sleep stack you're using and how you put them
Yes.
down and the timing and all of that. And what I find with the in-home program, when we come into your house, we're actually developing a customized program for your baby. So, it's nothing that a book's going to be able to do, like our, an email program is going to be able to do, because those programs don't learn your baby. And that's what I
Hmm.
say to everybody: is every baby so different, and it's really important to identify that and to also understand that there might be, a couple weeks where your baby's like, oh, okay, she's catching on, she's doing great. Okay, she's getting her nap, she's connecting naps now, she had a better night. And then there might be like an off nap or night day where you're like, oh my gosh, it's not working. It's not working. We're doing something
Yep.
wrong. And I think
Hmm.
it's so quick and easy for parents to be like, it's our fault. Like, what are we doing wrong? And I think that that's a big pressure with social media and everything. Is like you're doing something wrong, and then you second guess yourself, like maybe this wasn't the right thing.
Yes.
Or maybe you just give it a go for a couple more days, see if a pattern is developing or not, and see if she can figure it out. And I like to call my method the figure it out method, because it really is giving them space to be able to figure it out, but you're also figuring it out with what timing is appropriate for your baby, and what her needs are, making sure she's eating enough during the day, making sure her well-being is great, that she's feeling good, that her routine and her flow of her day is working for everybody. Because we look at the baby in a whole picture, not just sleep. We can't just say, this is what time you put them down without looking at when are they eating, when are they playing, how much of a put down, calm down, wind down do they have? And every baby's different. Yeah.
Yes. Everybody is different. And you kind of hit it on the head. Like there is no one size fits all. So for all of those training courses you can buy online, they miss the mark on so much because with you coming in the home, you can see, hear, and do and customize according to everybody's kid. And you kind of took the next question off my plate of what your method is. And I love that you call it the figure it out method because it does give your baby a chance to and space to figure it out. And I know the cry it out method, it gets a bad rap. And so I guess for any other struggling parent out there who needs kind of like a rundown of just what they can do tonight to get some sleep, what would you say to them and me?
Yeah, no, that's great. So,
And me.
one thing I just want to touch on too is like the cry it out method. So, it does get a very bad rap, and you could read both sides and you could get enough information on both sides to drive you crazy and not know ever what to do.
Yeah.
But just also to remind yourself that the only way a baby can communicate is by crying. So there are many reasons a baby communicates, hungry, tired, cold, overstimulated, all of those things, including just every little thing as to being, I always say this especially with older siblings with like toddlers, when they're in their face and they're like wanting to play with them and your toddler's like, "Ooh, I want to, come see the baby." And they're like just right up in there. And, your baby might just be like, like get out of my face. This is too much, and cries for that reason. Also when they are needing something from you specifically, and you're like, I don't know what the heck they need or they want. It's easier once you have a baby who is sleeping well or sleep trained to know exactly what they want because like, okay, they've been fed, they had a great nap, or they just woke up or whatever. And now we know like, okay, they probably are hungry at this point. So, but going back to your question for tonight, if someone is having a really hard time with their baby, I would recommend giving them a little extra time to try on their own. So instead of rushing to your baby right away, right when they start crying, like let them have a moment to just lay there and just see what they do. I often remind parents to just trust that your baby knows what to do. They just need to be given a little bit more of a roadmap, which is what my program does. So it's just kind of giving them the timing and giving them the understanding of what they're supposed to be doing. It's hard to say like, oh, tonight, give them X amount of time and then go in and check them because they don't know what to do yet. If you take a baby who's never done it to a baby that's going to be practicing for the first time, they're like, whoa, 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 what am I supposed to be doing here? You usually hold me to sleep or feed me to sleep, and now you're putting me down awake. So it is good to try gradually by, extending the amount of time you're letting them have to go down on their own and just see what happens. Because you might say, oh, we waited 15 minutes this time and it took her, about 14 minutes. We were going to give her 15. We took her about 14 minutes to go down. Oh, she can go 14. Maybe let's try next nap to go a few more minutes and see what we can do there and see what she's capable of doing. The idea of less is more comes into play here. Oftentimes we as parents want to go in and pat and settle and shush and sit next to the crib and all of these things. And because you're really like, oh, I can do something here. And as a parent, you're feeling like, okay, our baby is helpless in this sense, and we need to do something because it is up to us. We are the responsible parent to make sure that our baby can sleep or that we are successful. But what if your baby can show you how she can be successful? What if she can surprise you almost by showing you that she's able to maybe suck on her hand and self-soothe on her hand, or, maybe gets a lovey if she has a lovey and can soothe on that, or even, start to practice her rolling on her own because she had more time in the crib to practice, and maybe she was just trying to get into a comfortable position. So giving that time to figure it out is very important, to be able to let your baby show you or surprise you that they can do it on their own, which is always a really exciting part of this program too, because with Sweet Dreams LA, at the end of the program, you see that, oh my gosh, she can do it. And this is amazing. And, and you become even more proud of this little human that you're growing. And she's showing you for the first time, like, I can do this by myself for the first time. And this is the first thing that you're teaching me to do independently, which is really exciting too.
Ugh.
Yeah,
It's-
music to my ears. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of the 10, 15 minute.
You are. And
yeah.
Kimberly, it is such a great reminder to hear all of that again. And I
Yeah.
heard it 3 years ago, but a lot has happened since then.
Yeah, and
We've had another kid. And so it really is so refreshing to hear. And it just instills that confidence in me again. Like, yes, no, you're not in our home again, but this is so incredibly helpful to hear, because I'm notoriously bad at letting her figure it out.
This is like a ninja, like Bruce Lee getting up. Boom.
Yeah.
She's like out of that bed.
Yes.
And
Oh my
she's
God.
like the Flash.
I
And,
Okay.
I get it. I
But-
get it.
But it's really amazing as a father of two now, and having seen your method and you come into our home and work your magic with Nora being, I would personally put up her as one of the hardest categories in terms of sleep, because it was true. She had the colic, so she would cry for an hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours at that witching hour.
I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear Kimberly's thoughts on that, where she fit into the.
There was nothing
totem pole, yeah.
you could do as a parent for that. I don't know. I don't remember if she was still doing that when you came along, but that was a really difficult time for us. And as new parents, you just want to soothe your child. And when there's nothing you can do, that was really hard. And then, we were still navigating, what do we do with this newborn? You're trying to keep this new thing alive, and we're learning as well. But now as parents for the second time, we do compare the differences between Lily and Nora are night and day. They're just completely different children in terms of behavior and the amount of crying, the amount of waking up. Lily's a joy.
Okay,
really.
so was Nora.
I mean, she was harder. She was a lot harder. Let's be honest.
Certainly.
I'm not going to beat around the bush. She
No.
was a pain in the ass.
Okay. We love both of our kids.
But Lily
totally
is
get it,
just so much easier to put down. Like, you put her down, boom, she's down. And then when she does cry out, it's not even really crying. It's just kind of like she's grunting and
Yeah,
it's-
I know. And so I guess it begs the question, because I have a few, Kimberly. But
Yeah.
if we're talking about starting your method again, and for any other parent who might want to tonight or soon, the earliest you would say you could do this is about 12 weeks and beyond, if that child is healthy and, I guess is taking the right amount of formula or breast milk during the day.
Yes. So 12 weeks and 12 pounds is the minimum. And a lot of people will ask, why can you start at 12 weeks when we've heard to wait till 6 months or 16 weeks? And that's because we still offer a dream feed at night. So she would still be taking that one feed where she's sleeping. So she doesn't know that she's getting the feed. And I call it like a sneaky feed, because you're coming in, picking her up when she's still asleep and feeding her. And then she's getting that extra feed, and then you drop that feed at 6 months. So you technically still keep one feed until 6 months. At 6 months, though, like Lily, you could actually start practicing going through the night without the feed, as long as you said that she's getting enough to eat during the day. And so that is the other important part, is that babies can eat within a 24-hour period. So you can structure your feeds so that your baby is eating day and night if you would like to. Obviously, at this age, everybody needs to be getting sleep, and you don't need to have her getting calories during the nighttime, because you can start making sure she's eating during the day and taking in all her calories then. So that means that Depending on if you're doing on-demand feeds or if you're doing a scheduled feed program, you want to make sure that she's getting adequate feeds and not just snacks. So I always emphasize that. Oftentimes, babies, either breastfeeding or formula feeding, they prefer snacks. They want to just eat, when they wake up, before they go down, anytime during the day, anytime they're crying, let's feed the baby. It's like they're hungry. But if you start to give them more of a structured feed schedule, where they're not necessarily eating before they go to sleep, so that they can disconnect that association of feeding to sleep, they're going to get more used to, I wake up and I eat. So they'll start to expect that. They'll tend to eat much better because they're hungrier after their sleep anyway. You could start practicing just doing that one feed after they wake up, and then the next feed would be it. Then after the next nap, after they wake up next. And then that way they know, like, I don't need to eat to sleep. So if you have a baby who's waking frequently at night, who's actually getting used to being fed to sleep throughout the night, they're going to start getting into the habit of, I don't need to eat to go back to sleep. So I don't need the negative sleep association, which means something that your baby needs to go back down that you need to do. They start, depending on that. The feed is actually the hardest thing to drop with sleep training, because they do get so used to it. I've even seen some babies start to habitually wake throughout the night because they're expecting the feed now. So then if you don't give them the feed, they don't know what to do. They're like, what am I supposed to do? I'm waiting for my feed.
I'm pretty sure that's us right now.
That's us right now. So we're at, I'm gonna level with you. We're at 2 feedings right now. We're at about between 10 and midnight. She'll wake up.
Sometimes.
But for the most part.
So for the most part, it's around 2 a.m.
Yeah, but then there's a 4:35.
She isn't the 5:45 is when she wants to wake up. But what I remember from Nora is that you can kind of kick that 5:45 and you just let her figure it out.
Yeah, cry it out.
Yeah. So, the way that their sleep cycles work are, from 6 to midnight is going to be their deepest sleep. 12 to 3 is their second deepest. And then 3 to 6, 7 is their lightest sleep. And this is for everybody. This is for us, adults. This is for babies, toddlers. So babies do have the tendency of waking in the early morning hours because they are in that lighter sleep. If they haven't been taught how to go back to sleep, they're going to be awake and are going to be like, okay, I'm up for the day. I'm ready, or I'm ready for my feed. But in that period, especially with having that dream feed, which, if you're just starting sleep training now, you could keep a dream feed for like a month or so until you kind of get in the swing of things again. But once they have that 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. dream feed where she doesn't know she's getting woken up, so you're not kind of like, creating that habit or reinforcing that habit to wake and eat, then she should be able to go into the early morning. Also, of course, which we'll talk about, making sure she's getting enough to eat throughout the day, because that's very important too. You want to make sure that you're not only that she's eating enough, but also that you have the peace of mind that she has eaten enough. That's another thing that I talk to parents about. Peace of mind with this program is probably one of like the biggest benefits of this sleep training with Sweet Dreams LA, because you'll know, okay, she's eaten enough during the day. We've checked all the boxes. She got great naps during the day. Okay, now we had a great put down routine. She's set for the night with, a diaper that's not going to leak, making sure it's the right size, making sure we use, the appropriate cream so that we don't have to worry that like if she has a poop and we don't know that she's not going to have a rash. All of these things, I'm basically eliminating all the variables so that you know that she is safely and capably able to figure it out and give herself some time to be able to wiggle it out and to soothe back to sleep.
Well, one of those variables you have yet to bring up, and it's daycare. So Lily started daycare about a month ago. And what hasn't given me peace of mind in relation to that is she kind of started reverse cycle feeding in the beginning of starting daycare for the first week or 2 or 3. And I think she's finally getting to a period of normalcy, being a month out and getting used to daycare more. But in the beginning, she did not like anybody else really feeding her. And so that made me really scared of, okay, there's no way she has any kind of caloric intake enough in the day to last throughout the night. So of course I was happy to go in and feed her a couple of times through the night, sometimes 3 in the beginning of her starting daycare.
I think too, what's been challenging whilst she's been going to daycare, she picked up her first virus.
Yep.
And got her first temperatures. So, of course, she wasn't going to be eating because of that temperature. And then the temperature changed to constipation and
now I think it's just congestion from
congestion.
allergies. I'm
So
not
it's
sure.
kind of been this viral thing that's gone from fever, headache, fever, temperature, constipation to congestion. And we're hopefully on the tail end of it, but that's been really challenging. Especially at night because she hasn't been eating great. So we're just like...
She's getting a lot better though.
Yeah.
I would say during the day, Kimberly, she probably has about 22 ounces. And I don't know that that's enough, if that's enough for a 6-month-old or not.
Yeah. So she, during the day, sounds like she's getting enough. I still would recommend doing the dream feed and giving her that extra feed. And that's mostly for your peace of mind, to be honest. Because you want to know in those early morning hours when she's waking up that she's not necessarily hungry. Of course, if for some reason she's up and she has a poop and you don't know, and she's like, oh, she's been up for an hour kicking around, she's going to get more hungry by being up longer.
Exactly,
So my whole rule of thumb is 6 a.m. is the earliest wake up. So 6 a.m. can be the start of her day. So if she's up at 5:45, 5:30, and she's kicking around, and it doesn't seem like she's going to be going back to sleep, totally fine to get her up, feed her, and then time naps off of that waking. But it is tricky with daycare, and I hear you especially with illnesses. Of course, we work with babies and toddlers all the time who are getting sick and then teething and then going on a trip and getting sick again. And, it's just so many different parts of life that happen. And especially with colds, it's like, how do we ever get back into it? With this program too, I do recommend, treating your baby as needed. If you need to go in and give her, if you use Tylenol or homeopathic remedies, go ahead and do that. Use the humidifier. I swear by humidifiers during colds. Do all of those things.
It's actually made a huge difference for us the last few nights. Funny you say that. Leslie just put one in 2 nights ago, and they have been better nights. Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah, they're amazing.
Worked a treat. Yeah.
Oh, yay. That's
great tool.
Wonderful. Yay.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And also, if your baby gets off track, even during sleep training, after sleep training, and I remember chatting with you about this earlier, try to jump on as soon as possible. So if you have to go in and medicate as needed, if you have to soothe or whatever, do things that are a little off of the program you've been doing, I always say, give it a couple days. You can go in a couple days, do the things you need. You notice she's getting better. Amazing. The third night, I would give her more space again to try to go back down. However, if she needs her nose cleaned, if she needs another medication situation, go ahead and do that. Of course, tend to your baby's needs. However, I always compare it to like a diet. I hate that word, but a diet. Say you're like, okay, I'm gonna go on this special diet and I'm gonna eat really well and I'm gonna exercise every day. And then say you go to a friend's birthday party and you're like, oh, I had cake yesterday. Dang it, I had cake yesterday. Oh, there's a hot dog. I'm craving a hot dog. I'm gonna have a hot dog today because I had a cake yesterday. It's like, whatever, it's fine. And then the third day comes around and you're like, oh, I've been just like falling off. Okay, I'm going to have an ice cream sundae today because I had a hot dog yesterday and I had, I'm just like, okay, it's fine.
The wheels
it's
fell
just
off.
Whatever.
Yeah,
and that's
totally.
exactly what happens. It's like exactly what happens with sleep training and with baby
true.
sleep. It's like, oh, we went on this trip. We just got home yesterday. So it's fine. Like today I'm going to go in and just check on her. Oh, she looks like she's getting a tooth coming in now. I'm going to go check on her now. And then it becomes kind of like this slippery slope.
A slippery slope.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, it's been 3 or 4 weeks where you're like, okay, we just totally fell off and now she's in our bed with us. It's like,
Yes. Relatable.
It's like, oh my gosh. And it's every family. It's not just you. It's not just the next family. It's like, it happens. So the really important part with any program or with my program is that you're just kind of getting back on as soon as possible. Just jump back on. It's okay. Don't beat yourself up if you had a day or two where you're like, all right, we kind of cheated. We kind of went in, we checked her. But just know that the sooner you go back on, the sooner it is for all of you, for her, for you, to get back on track. After you have sleep trained your baby, the best thing you can do when you go backwards a little bit is jump back on as soon as possible and know that a reset is possible. I say there's always time for a reset. That's like my favorite saying. There's always time for a reset. You're fine. Don't beat yourself up over it. Just don't let yourself go too long.
Don't let yourself go too long. Do you know what I'm about to say?
I think so.
Man. Well, Nora was such an A+ sleeper.
An amazing sleeper.
I mean, and so in large part due to you. But now all of a sudden she turned 3. And I will never forget when you were here in Arkansas with us, you were like, after this, I think you were going to Florida or somewhere. And you're like, I'm going to go sleep train a baby and a toddler in the same family. And I think even help potty trainer. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, like a toddler needs sleep training. I get it now. I totally get it. And we need all the help we can get because I don't know if it's her new sister, the big girl bed transition or potty training or all of it.
She's very scared. She's scared.
Or the imagination.
I don't know if it's like, the brain development of her getting older and, understanding things, but she's scared and she wants comfort. She wants to be beside me or she wants hugs and wants me to sleep with her. And it's been very challenging. So yeah, any tips and advice for a 3-year-old that won't sleep in her bed throughout the night?
I love that you brought this up. I actually just landed a couple days ago from a 3-year-old in New York City. I had sleep trained his sister last year when she was 4 months old. And they're like, okay, she's a dream. What did you do? Because she was particularly challenging for them, not for me, for them. And then they're like, we can't have a sleeping, baby and then have our toddler now be up and down all night. Even though it seems interesting and different, like why would a toddler need to be sleep trained? It's a totally different time. Developmentally, of course, they're learning things at school. They're seeing things on TV or whatever, screens they're introduced to, or their friends telling them about monsters or, starting a new school. Or sometimes they work with families who are getting a divorce and there's big changes happening where their worlds are getting rocked a little bit. So the thing that they need to be able to know is that they have their boundaries set. They know what is expected of them to be able to sleep. The family that I worked with is amazing. They would be very happy with me sharing their situation. So I'm happy to share. But, they have this little baby who now is not so little. She's 14 months old. And she came along and that was kind of his new situation that happened where he's like, oh my gosh, I'm not number one in his mind.
Yes.
Of course, they still think they're both number one, but, and what do I do? Where do I fit in? How do I get special attention from my parents when there's this baby here? And so he started, really having a hard time going to bed, dragging out bedtime, which is what all the toddlers do. They really do find everything they can to be able to make every step of bedtime go longer. I have seen everything you can imagine under the sun of, you have to turn the lights off this way. You have to, read me another book, or I need another hug, another kiss. It's like, oh my gosh, every single
Can
time.
relate to another book.
Yeah,
They're
I need to take a
master
water.
stallers. Yes, all of it.
And and once they you give them an inch, they take a mile. That's toddlers.
Yep.
Every toddler. So every toddler. So they need to know. Yeah, you're not alone, and they need to know that they have some sense of control while you're also keeping those boundaries, because Nora's looking at you to be like, what am I supposed to do and what can I get away with? So she knows.
I think I just said that to you the other night. She's working us and she's testing us.
Oh, she knows exactly what she's doing.
She's trying to find those boundaries.
Wicked
and
smart, and it's scary.
She's pushing us to the limit.
As tired parents, sometimes I'm like, I don't have the energy. Do whatever you
Yeah.
want.
So
Do
please,
whatever you want.
so please go on, Kimberly.
Yes,
go on.
yes. So one thing that I love to do with toddlers who are particularly good at stalling is to do a responsibilities chart. I do a responsibilities chart. I call it like bedtime steps, where you write down very simple, whatever the 4 or 5 steps that you have are, go potty, drink of water, book time, song, hug and kiss, goodnight, whatever it is, in your order on this chart that she can see that's up on the wall that has a picture next to each saying. So go potty, there's a potty, toothbrush, whatever. So she can see. And you hold her to that chart for every bedtime. So if she's still napping or nighttime, you do the same thing. Same steps, obviously bath might be the only thing that's different or something like that. And you can ask her, like, Nora, you know what? I'm so excited for bedtime tonight. I'm so excited that you're a big girl and you know exactly what you need to do. Let's go over your steps and talk about what you need to do before you go to bed. Let's have you show mommy and daddy what we need to do. So we know, why don't you show us? Because you're such a big girl. So you kind of put the ball back in her court and you say, let's show, let's do this together. You go in there, you're going to basically do exactly what I said. What's the first step? Step 1, literally numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're going to go through the steps with her. She's going to show you. Okay, great. So then when you're done with that drink of water, you're done with that hug and kiss goodnight. If she goes, I need another drink of water, you'll be like, oh, wait, let's look at your steps. Let's see. Did we already do that? Oh, we already did that, and she knows she already did it. And you can confirm with her that you have the proof, so you can't,
Yeah, right.
She can't
A
push you
visual
into be
aid.
like, visual aid.
Love that.
And oh, I need another hug and I need her kiss. That's going to, break some parents' hearts to be like, nope, we already had one hug and kiss. But she needs to know that you're holding those boundaries so she can't push those. So once you go through that list and she's done all of the steps, you can say, okay, we're going to say goodnight now. Everyone's going to sleep. A reminder that mommy's sleeping, daddy's sleeping, Lily's sleeping, everybody sleeps at night. So she doesn't think you're just having this fun party without her. I always say too, like toddlers think that, you're having a grand old time when they're sleeping and they want to have fun too. If you remind them that you're sleeping and that everybody sleeps at night, then she'll also remind herself like, okay, like they're not standing outside my door, like beckoning to my every need, and that's good. Like let her know that so she feels safe.
I like the visual aid. I've tried all the night light projectors, the toddler sleep training courses. Nothing works. And, sometimes when we will certainly like walk her back to bed, Alex does that so many times a night. And eventually she'll fall asleep by herself in there. But it really is all the night wakings. She'll wake up and scream out. And then eventually, and we've never really done this until very recently, she ends up in our bed. Because if we got to let her scream and cry, she wakes up Lily. And so we're in this kind of bad habit of doing that.
And I was trying to avoid her coming to our bed by going in there and just jumping in with her and just comforting her and going, hey, it's okay, daddy's here, it's okay, everything's safe, don't worry, to let her not get in our bed. But then she expects me to stay and wants that constant comfort of somebody there.
I know this is controversial too. What are your thoughts on melatonin?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. So I have worked with families who, before I arrive, they're like, we just do melatonin and knock them out. And it's totally up to you, like every parent's preference, especially for travel. Sometimes kids just like have so much anxiety while travel. They give them melatonin.
Totally.
And,
we've never tried it. We've never tried it, but I'm almost at a point where I'm like, should we?
Yeah.
She's so wide at the end of the night, and we've been taking away a bit of the TV and have noticed a big change in her overstimulation. So I think moving forward, we're going to be taking away TV in the afternoons at night because it hasn't helped,
Yeah, that's a big one. So melatonin is a little tricky because it can work great for the initial falling asleep, but then they pop up again a few hours later, and then you're kind of where you began. I've heard some of the families I've worked with have noticed like more like night terror type things with melatonin.
Yes.
And
Okay.
so all of those things I'd kind of be aware of, like even when I've taken melatonin, when I'm traveling or something, I've noticed like, okay, I fall asleep and then I'm like wide awake again in a couple hours, which didn't really
Yeah.
help.
We don't need that in our
Yeah.
life.
So yeah, so it's more about the routine and the boundaries. So if you're
Sure.
laying in bed with her, you're teaching her, you need daddy to be able to sleep. So now she is relying
Yep.
on that. In our toddler programs, it's super routine and behavior based. It's a very specific program to how we start off with the most intervention to the least intervention. By the time we leave after 3 to 5 days, we are not going into the room anymore. When they're getting up, they're walking themselves back to their bed. It works every time because of how we set up the program so that they know what to expect. They're not getting the reward of the purpose of them popping up out of bed anyway, of either daddy coming in, being able to go into the hallway. I have a whole thought process on, if the child should be able to leave the room at night, if you should have some kind of
Mm,
a lock situation, just because I have also worked with families who have toddlers who are going up and down stairs at night. There's one home where I
right.
worked where the toddler was taking the elevator to go down to
Oh
their
my
Oh my
God.
parents.
gosh.
So it,
Wow.
it gets to be like a safety issue as well. So you really
Yeah.
want to make sure there's no toddlers turning on, stoves in the middle
Mm.
of the night when you're
Yep.
sleeping. So we also
Yep.
need to
Totally.
kind of
Uh,
address what their boundaries are in terms of what their space is, because you should be able to sleep at night. You as parents should be sleeping and not worrying that your child is also getting up and walking outside
So
the
should
Amen.
door.
she should be as well. I
I
mean,
know.
she needs it just the same. Do you think there's something to you or another, stranger in the beginning coming in and seeing that, Nora seeing you as an authority kind of figure rather than mom and dad and almost minding you a little bit better than acting out for us at night?
Yeah, so that's a great that's a great question, because there is a big piece about me or my team coming in as your sleep teacher. We come in with fun activities, we come in with a chart that we're going to use. We're coming in with a whole program where we're like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We do come in with that expert sleep hat, to kind of like take over in an interesting way, because we do man the going back and forth to the bed every night and all of that ourselves so that you can get sleep, because there's not really much that the parents need to do at that point. And then towards
Hmm.
the end of the program, they know that, you're putting them down, doing the steps with them. Towards the end, we step away a little more. We're outside the room. We're also making sure that the bedtime is going smoothly and everything. But they know that we're all on the same page by the end, that mommy and daddy and Kimberly or whoever is on my team there, are all on the same page doing this together, so that she can't push her boundaries more with one parent over the other, which I often do see too, is sometimes they'll prefer one parent to do bedtime over the other because it's a little easier
Yep.
to get away with what they want to.
Totally.
And that's very evident in toddlers too. And even with just like the getting up at night and like needing to come get you, it's obviously cutting into their sleep cycles. They're coming into lighter sleep, and they're not getting consistent sleep, because then they have to like either wait for you or you put them down, and then it's a whole process of that. And so they're not
Right.
getting that much sleep. Even a toddler,
Right.
the minimum amount of night sleep is 10 and a half hours of night sleep per every evening, actually. And so they're not getting that. They're not getting the proper sleep for development. So you want to make sure that you're also showing them that this isn't just important, for you to know what to do so that we're sleeping, so because it's we're going to bed at night. It's like your body needs to sleep so that you feel good also. And so giving her those tools to be able to go back to sleep on her own, and knowing that she feels safe on her own, because of her routine, because of what she has in her room for her, because of XYZ that she can do on her own, is going to also help her go back to sleep on her own. Um, it's a tricky thing
Yeah.
when they feel
I,
like, oh, I need daddy to do this, or I need mommy to come in and do this, or I need a glass of water in the middle of the night, to be able to go back to
yeah. I've
bed.
been trying to reassure her last night. I just had a conversation with her, trying to be like, "Mummy and Daddy here. We can see you. The lights on, and everything's okay." And it's hard trying to reason
That's
with
another thing.
a
She
3-year-old.
she demands a light on, and so I don't think that helps her body clock either.
But yeah, we've got some steps to improve. So we're going to take what you've said today and maybe
implement. But therein lies just another benefit of having you inside the home.
Yeah.
For anybody listening who needs help, like
Yeah.
having you inside the home is everything.
Yeah.
But you know, we're going to start the visual aid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
gonna do
do
the chart.
that. Also, the screen time, limiting screen time is super beneficial. I always say no screens an hour before bed. Even for adults, that's the rule of thumb for adults for good sleep too.
Yeah.
So smart.
And
need
if
to
you
do
want to
better on
do
that
like
front.
and it helps you because that blue light is just it's just too distracting and it's so stimulating. And then also if you want to put a light in your toddler's room, I recommend a red or an orange light that promotes good sleep. You can also use a salt lamp, which has a nice, you get a salt lamp with a dimmer. It has a nice glow.
Yep.
I think that's fine too.
Okay.
And making sure that you're keeping the routine the same at night and keeping those steps the same no matter who's putting her down. Also, using a mantra where mom and dad are both using the same mantra, so she can't kind of get more out of you than that. Very short and sweet. The bedtime routine should be no longer than 15 minutes long. And the mantra can be something like, okay, you're safe. We love you. Sweet dreams. We're all sleeping. See you in the morning. And if you use the same thing every night, she's not going to push for more talking, more words, more that. But you just have to stick to that short and sweet mantra and that consistent bedtime routine.
And
those are great actionable steps.
yeah,
for sure.
on that note, because we are a travel podcast, for families traveling should, as you know, as hard as it is, new environment, hotel or different time zone, should people just try and stick to that same routine, that same 15 minutes, even though it isn't in a different time zone, to try and get back on track as soon as possible? Just try and same but different kind of.
Yeah. So, travel days, I always say, are just up in the air. Like, don't be such a stickler about like, oh, we didn't do the nap at this time or they missed the nap on the plane or whatever. Just remember that if you've started a good routine in a program, just continue that exactly whenever you arrive. And then also mimic the home routine as much as possible. So that same, like you said,
Visual
the same
aid.
steps, the visual aid, bring it with you. If you can bring as many things that are similar to home with you as possible, like if you're using a white noise or sound machine, the visual aid, and really like, or the light, if they have a light that they like, I do recommend a ready to wake light for toddlers that has, it changes from red to green when it's time to wake up.
I was
so that
actually
they
going to
know.
ask you about that. Is that like a myth, or you support that method? Because I think we know a few people that have the green light, red light thing.
We have it.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
We do. We just
use it.
Yeah. Well,
I love
she just
it.
hasn't
Yeah.
stayed in her bed long enough to actually see the green light.
Yeah. So incorporating all of
Maybe
these
you
things
can give us
together.
some links that we can put to people, for the right ones, and some other stuff that you've mentioned. Maybe you can give us a bunch of links, and we can leave that in the
Happy to do
YouTube
that.
description for people.
Happy to do
that'd
that
be
for
great.
sure. If you're incorporating the routine, the steps, the visual aid at night, the ready to wake light in the morning, all at the same time, it helps. If you're doing kind of one at a time, it kind of loses the effect of starting a program or having just a new thing or a new fun thing for your child to do. I do like the rewards chart of giving them a star or sticker for every time they stay in bed until the ready to wake light goes on, until the green light goes on. And the reminder, and you can add it as part of your mantra at night, it's time to wake up when the green light goes on, or it's time to get out of your bed when the green light goes on. Or if you're in the camp of wanting to, have that green light set, and then you have the ability to come in and wake her up when the green light is on. Just a reminder, mommy and daddy come in when the green light goes on. Just make sure you set your timer so that you're coming in whenever that time is. And you could set that time for whatever you'd like. Some families are like, we need her to be up at 6:30. The green light goes on at 6:30. Good morning. Sometimes like, okay, we don't want her to be up until 7:30. Fine, then set it to 7:30. Green light goes on. She knows, and she has the control of knowing. And it's a very exciting thing for toddlers to be like, the green light's on, it's morning.
Okay,
and
great.
then you come in and you get that reward.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll implement that too. We have one. We have one.
Good.
Yeah. She just hasn't stayed in bed long enough in the morning to see it.
We're going to implement that ASAP.
Because she's been in our bed.
Oh, yes. I hear
We got
you.
some work to do. But to wrap things up, Kimberly, just for everyone wanting to know more about your business, whereabouts do you're based in Los Angeles, but you work in New York frequently, and you work in all states in the US and around the
Yes,
world?
all around the world. So we are international. So we have worked in Canada, Mexico. I was just in the Bahamas a few months ago. Wherever anyone needs sleep, we go. So we're happy to travel. I have sweetdreamsla.com for more information and inquiries. I also am on Instagram at sweetdreamsla, and happy to answer any questions. And like I said, we work from 12 weeks old all the way up to 4 years old. So we're happy to help and travel to you.
Yeah, as
Amazing.
being clients, we can't recommend you enough. The help you did with Nora, you really got us out of a hellhole and got her on track. Obviously we're back in a different age and leap right now, but you were a lifesaver, and thank you for coming out and seeing us that time and becoming part of our family for a little bit and teaching us your ways. It was beautiful to watch, and you helped us immensely. So
Oh, thank
Sweet
you.
Dreams LA will have a big place in my heart forever and always. And thank you for the
thank you.
confidence. We're going to, I think, implement a lot of this tonight, tomorrow, and beyond for both Lily and Nora.
Yeah, so if
Yay.
anyone out there listening is having problems with their kids sleeping or friends and family, we can't recommend Kimberly and Sweet Dreams LA enough.
Yes.
So
Thank
reach
Thank you
out.
so much
Kimberly.
for that.
You're
I
the
love you
greatest.
guys. Happy
Love you too.
to be there for you, and congratulations on your family of 4. I'm so happy for you and for where you're going to
Thank
go. It's
you.
going to be
Thanks,
great.
Kimberly.
Yes,
Thank
you're
you, thank you.
welcome. Thank you.
All
Thanks.
right. See y'all next time.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to us. We appreciate you guys tuning in. See you on the next one.